What's going on, everyone? It's your boy James, Grendel's Garage, and we are working hard on the Menace 85, getting everything mounted up. Been very satisfied with everything, especially this pipe. Just if you guys are curious, yes, if you do use a mount on your felt faker, F0, whatever you want to call it, this pipe totally clears it completely and even got like a little extra. Not worried about anything running into the wheel itself. Plenty of space. Looks great. Kind of what I want to show you guys is the method for mounting up the Nibby carburetor and kind of like what I do. I am going to go with a Nibby 19. I bought a second one a long time ago, so I wanted to go ahead and just not beat around the bush. I don't think there's anything wrong that comes with the stock carb with this kit. Honestly, at this point in time, I just want to put a bad carburetor on there and see how everything goes. With that being said, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make some cuts. So if you look right in there, you can kind of see there's some white Sharpie. What I do is I get my hose completely mounted up the way that I want it to be, stuff like that. You can kind of turn it a little bit back and forth, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this as flat as possible. You don't want your carburetor to be super turned, tilted side to side. So if you can remove any of that guesswork off the bat, that's the best way to do it. So what we're going to do is, what I do is I just take a white Sharpie because it looks really good on the black. Once I get my measurements for the bolts, I go ahead and just take an X-Acto knife, and then I just make my cuts so that way that this will slide perfectly onto your intake. This is the Small Performance intake that I have here. This is their spigot one, the really nice CNC one that they have, and so we're going to go ahead and move forward with that. What I'm also going to do is right there, I'm going to cut this back. Again, I just used the X-Acto knife, put it on a table, and just cut it as straight as I absolutely can. Why I'm going to do that is because one thing is, since this thing is kind of protruding out, if you can get this cut back here, you can go ahead and put your other metal flange and you can kind of stick that in there. And what I've done so far, this will be the second time I've done this and it works super good. Basically, this is a mini bike intake manifold. And really why I went this route is because I was having issues matching up the PZ carburetors to anything. So what I found is that if you take an intake manifold for the mini bikes, I believe this is really meant for those Predators and stuff like that. You can kind of see that's the part with the kind of wonky, I don't know, indents right there. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my bandsaw and I'm just going to cut that part off completely. Once that's removed, you can go ahead and shove this into there. And what's super nice about these manifolds too is you can actually adjust your carburetor up and down, side to side pretty well, because you have enough play right there for the mounting of the bolts. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So like I said, if you cut that off, you're going to be able to shove that in there a little bit further, and then when you go to zip tie it to your frame, you're not just pinching onto the rubber hose, you're actually going to be pinching onto the metal, so it's not going to compress it or anything like that. Also, it makes it a lot more stable. We're going to have a couple challenges. I think this might be a little bit intrusive, so we might have to kind of pull that down a little bit when we zip tie it. But what would be nice is we should be able to get enough flow to where it comes out right about there. So looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. And I was just going to cut this off camera, but I think tomorrow I'll go ahead and cut it for you guys so that way you can see what I do. In the past, I just use a hacksaw, guys. Nothing crazy. Works just fine, but I got new toys, so I'm going to play with them. Cool. Stay tuned. Alrighty, guys. We're going to go ahead and use the new bandsaw and make our cut. Like I said earlier, you want to cut off the side that would attach to the motor on the mini bikes. We want to keep the bigger side that will attach to the Nibby carburetor. So let's go ahead and get set up and we'll make some cuts. I'm going to back you guys up a little bit so I don't get a bunch of metal flakes on the camera. Might be kind of hard to see just with the lighting and stuff like that, but we'll manage. So saw is plugged in, and I gotta move some stuff. So what's super nice is we actually have this lever right here. You go ahead and just pull down on that, and then it engages it. So basically just so, and boom. There we go. Simple as that. Wasn't the straightest cut I've ever had in my entire life. It kind of tore through that aluminum a little bit faster than I thought. That's the first time I've used it for this kind of thing. It's a little bit easier to cut flat steel. So kind of new to this. Basically, I could sand this down and make it perfectly flat and stuff like that, but I don't really need to. We'll just take a quick file and go probably scrape up the inside a little bit so we can kind of work on that air and gas flow, so it gets a little bit of turbulence as we go through. But that's basically it, guys. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. Now we have a great mount for the Nibby carburetor. Thank you. Alrighty, everyone, we are back, and we got the carburetor all hooked up, the Nibby 19. So basically, this is the setup that I like to go with, the one that seems to do the best for me personally. As you guys can see, we cut off the end to the mini bike manifold. We shoved it in there. We have a hose clamp to get it nice and tight on there. We got a couple zip ties, keeping it nice and firm to the frame. And then we have the Smolek Performance spigot intake all hooked up. Like you guys saw, or like I said I was going to do, is I did cut into the actual hose itself. So that way I can get a super nice firm seal around it, so there's no issues like that. It's pretty basic until you do it, kind of a thing. You know, you got to kind of monkey around. What I have found, and I don't know why this is, but the bolts that come stock that you need for that come with the Nibby carburetor, they're the one that is over by this choke. It's always too long. The two that I've bought, I've had the same issue. So I mean, that's just as simple as grinding it down. Not have a grinder, it was super easy, grind it down. When I do grind these bolts down, what I do is I thread on the bolt all the way back, grind it down, and then when I'm done grinding, you can then take your bolt, unscrew it, or excuse me, your nut from the bolt when you unscrew that, so that way you can get your threads nice and good. You can basically just punch it through with the nut that is on there. So just kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of how I do this setup and all that jazz. Works super well, guys. Having the carburetor away from the engine is pretty nice because the carburetor itself doesn't heat up, and that in turn you get cooler gas oil mixture going into the engine, in turn cooling it a little bit more. What's super nice too about these Nibby carburetors, if you get the ones that come with the 45-degree angle air filter, you can angle it to wherever you want. Ideally, I think it'd be super nice to have it tilting out, but for the sake of clearing my pedals, this time I actually had to kind of tilt it back in. Again, not like, oh my gosh, like I have to do that, but it is just kind of nice. I do have the gas going up and around over here. So far it's been zero issues, guys. I have taken the bike out for a couple rips. So I guess good news, you guys know that the Menace 85 does run. The next video that you're going to see on Friday, you will actually see me doing the first startup video. Again, I am super ahead on my videos, and it's been super great for me and my family because then I can really focus on family time, but I can still get you guys content coming out. So cool. If you guys have any questions about this setup, let me know. It's really straightforward. It just takes a little time, just like everything else in this hobby, just takes a little time. So cool. Till next time, guys.